Hello and welcome to the Cardiac Cats YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jacob Shorba, and we've got two orders of business here, right? The general discussion we're going to have, obviously, is about the first day of the Senior Bowl and the national and American practices, what we learn. We're going to talk about some prospects that I had notes on that, I felt like maybe changed how I viewed them going in. And the other order of business that I have to start out here, guys, you got me to 1,000 subscribers this morning. I'm driving from the hotel to the stadium, and we hit 1,000 subscribers along the way. I didn't think we'd do it that fast, and here we are, right? And so I want to start out by just, if you want to skip this, you can, right? We're not talking about Senior Bowl just yet, but I want to start out by just thanking you all for your support. I mean, it's incredible that we were able to get to this point. I didn't know if it would ever get to here, especially starting way back in the day. And it's just been an incredible ride to be able to talk about this team, and especially just this last week. Now that I feel like there can be hope for the future. We're not just sitting here waiting for someone to be replaced or that sort of thing or some sort of change. I think that is coming to this team, and it's going to be a really exciting, at least I'm hoping, next couple of years. And I just appreciate the opportunity to get to talk about these things, to get to put my opinions out there. I love hearing what you guys have to say, and I love this community, right? Not just Jacksonville Jaguars fans in general, but the people that come here as well. When I started this channel, this was something I wanted to be open-minded, something that I wanted people to be able to come here and essentially be able to give their honest opinions about things in an area where we're not going to insult you. We're not going to just tell you you're dumb because we disagree with it, but to genuinely challenge our opinions and our thoughts and to ultimately have stronger beliefs because of it. And it's been great having conversations with you all for the last 2+ years. I'm just immensely thankful for the amount of people who engage with this, and you've allowed me to do a lot of incredible things. I would not be here right now on this trip if it was not for the support from you guys. And one thing I wanted to share, if you're on Twitter, you'll have seen this already, but we got an actual Senior Bowl pass this year. My name on it, Cardiac Cats, field access, after practices to talk to players. This does not happen without you guys, right? And I'm hoping we get to do a little bit more with it, because unfortunately, I couldn't find a single player that had questions prepared for today, so that's unfortunate. But we're gonna, work on that tomorrow, and I know there's gonna be a lot of players at a convention center after practices, so I'm going to try to go over there and talk to some guys and have some content for you later this week from interviews. But guys, once again, this does not happen without your support. So I just want to make sure you all know how much I appreciate you and everything that you've done for this channel, because I don't get to enjoy these things without your support. Now, before we get into talking about just my notes from today, and it's not going to really be a super long video here, and there's surely a lot of things you're going to be able to learn listening to some other people as well. I encourage you, go look around on YouTube, check out some other people's thoughts on the first day of the Senior Bowl. There's a lot of things you just can't catch out here. There's a lot of things you're going to miss. You really only focus on one group at a time, and so my perspective is limited for that reason. But before we get into that, just really quickly, I'm going to swap over to the channel members screen here. This is active again. So it was unfortunately down for a period of time just because of AdSense issues. And I finally was able to verify it this morning, got the pin from them. Everything is back up now. So if you want to be a channel member, you can come and join it now. It's all, they have these 3 different ranks. You don't have to do that, right? This is just an optional thing. It is available again. I'm just saying that because I've been asked about it by others. If you have been a channel member before, please go check on your subscription to this channel, or the subscription to the membership, that is, because a lot of them got canceled because unfortunately they renewed during the time when memberships were turned off by YouTube. But that will not be a problem in the future. This is all fixed. It's all set up. So that is once again available. And want to, of course, really quickly, we'll shout these guys out again at the very end. But Nightmare Eco F-150, interesting name. You joined the channel today. I really appreciate that. And you've been great to talk to in comments here. And I like I said before, I appreciate getting to talk to all of you and to hear your opinions. And it really does have an impact on what I think and the things that I hear, because there's things I don't know, and I learned plenty from it. So just want to mention that really quick, but we are here for a Senior Bowl recap video, so we are going to get into that now. So we'll go ahead, swap over to, these are just my notes, and we'll show some clips from practice. Let's start with Mike Green. So there's a lot of talk about Mike Green going into this, because people were super excited about him, talking about how this guy is this incredible pass rusher, and some people were even saying the #1 guy in the class. Personally, I think that's crazy, just because Abdul Carter exists. I think there's definitely a debate for him to be #2, and I think once I update things, that could be where it lands. But Mike Green, the big question was the measurements this week, because he didn't get great news in a lot of those regards, and so people were kind of getting scared by it, right? We see this every year, not only with fans, but also with the NFL, where they see a measurement they don't like, and they kind of panic once in a while. So this is not updated, by the way. I have not changed this from Senior Bowl practices. There's also players I want to add, but these are your measurements. He is 6'3", now 251 pounds. And that's one of my notes stands out here when we go just take a look at the video of him walking out into the field. Really small hands, unfortunately. The arm length is subpar. You want to get to 33 inches. Now, this is not like he's a 30-inch or pass rusher with 30-inch arms, right? He's not crazy far off the mark, but he is a little bit off. And then the wingspan obviously suffers as well because of that. So these were concerns that people had. And when I watched him walk out on the field, I took a video of him. We'll take a look at that really quick here. This guy is dense, right? Like, this is not someone who is like super light or not going to have power to his game. He's a super fast player already. We've seen the athleticism, but that power is there. When you look at the sort of the ratio between his frame and his mass, I think it turns out really well in his favor, because yes, he does have a smaller frame, but he does get over 250 pounds. So that is impressive. It's good to see. I don't have questions about mass. It's simply going to be that lack of length. And keep in mind, Aiden Hutchinson did go second overall with like 32-inch arms. So Mike Green, there's concerns, right? But this was a guy who looked the part today. This is someone who played very well. You saw that ability to just stick in plays whenever they were doing reps today with the whole offense and defense on the field. He is sticking with the ball. He's always following the ball. He's not standing around. He's not goofing around. He is going to be an impact player in the NFL. I would be shocked if he goes after the first round, because he has every bit of business being one of the top 32 picks in this class. So Mike Green was the first guy that I really noted stuff from. Harold Fannon, I didn't get a lot of video from him, but when you watch him block, he is someone who brings his A game. He is ferocious in that regard. He is willing. And ultimately, while he doesn't have incredible size, this does help him be a well-rounded player at the tight end position. Now, as far as his size, we'll take a look at this. He is, and once again, this is actually incorrect. Warren is, I think, my top tight end now, so I'll have to reorder this. But Fannon, he's 6'3". That is short, but came in at 238, which he was originally thought to be around 230. So this is a little bit better than where we maybe thought he was before. Nevertheless, he's not a big tight end, right? He's a smaller guy. So that has to be noted. But Fannon, I thought, played really well today. You know, I know some people who watched him a little bit closer were saying he looked faster than they even saw in the film. Felt like he was a better athlete than maybe what we thought. Now, speaking of someone who maybe wasn't as good of an athlete as I was hoping for, and I still got to watch the film on him because I don't think this is really like his area of strength as a player. Pat Bryant, who is a Jacksonville native, I believe, just watching him on a couple of reps, which once again have not scouted him going into this, just did not show a whole lot of fluidity, was not moving direction super well. That is an area of limitation that stood out. So just something little to note there. Anais Peebles, probably butchered that, but that's okay. This was someone who had some big plays today. And he's a guy I've had kind of low on my board, but the impact that he could have, I think he's able to make splash plays. I think he's going to be someone in the NFL that you're going to see pop up here and there and be an effective gap penetrator for the team that he plays for. Now, taking a look at the play, this was one of multiple plays that he blew up. He is on the interior here. I believe he's right here. You're going to see this get swallowed up immediately. So, right off the snap, he has an open gap here. He is straight through. This guy is like full extended lunging towards him. Peebles hits the ball carrier immediately. Now, they're not really allowed to tackle here, so just keep that in mind. Maybe he would have missed that tackle regardless, but you'll see that on a lot of these plays. Like, the running back's just going to keep going, and it's going to make it look like maybe the defense didn't do a good job. So he had some good moments. Someone who kind of had a mix of moments today was Azareye'h Thomas. He's one of the players I would like to interview with. Just for context, the 4 guys I was looking at today, and I wasn't been able to get to all of them, but I at least wanted to get to some. It was Marcus and Bo. It was Azareye'h Thomas. It was Armand Membu, who I don't know if he was at practice. I did not spot him while I was watching. And then the final one was Jaylen Royals. I could not find him on the field. I looked for 10 minutes, and apparently the guy didn't exist after practice. So who knows what happened. But those were the guys I was looking at trying to interview. I'll probably look at some different players, like Maxwell Harrison is probably someone I'll definitely try to hit up and see if he's available, hopefully tomorrow or on Thursday. But Azareye'h Thomas, you know, he's someone we're watching because we don't know what the scheme's going to be right now. We ran man coverage a lot this last year, and if we continue with that, and you also have Jarion Jones, keep in mind, who is a man coverage corner, that might incentivize that. And obviously they were willing to run the scheme in spite of Tyson Campbell not being great at man coverage. If they stick with that, Azareye'h Thomas, I think, makes a boatload of sense for Jacksonville in the second round. Now, is he available there? That's the question, because there's people talking about him as a first-round prospect. I don't know if I have him that high at the end of the day, but I do think that there's an argument for it. And ultimately, what I saw was a mix of very good and bad plays, right? There were times where he would get beat athletically by someone like Tez Johnson, who, shout out to him, by the way, for signing for myself and some friends at the Senior Bowl. But, you know, Tez Johnson, he is 156. He is like probably the smallest receiver to ever enter the NFL. So it is hard to keep up with a player like that. But, you know, some of the transitions and routes, he got really far off. So that's a little concerning. But Thomas, when it gets to the catch point, if he's involved in the play, if he's close enough, he's going to break it up. He is going to be someone I think has a lot of pass breakups in the NFL. So he had some big plays down the field, getting involved at the catch point, knocking the ball down. I think ultimately he probably did more for his stock than he did against it. And so I would say he had a good day because of that. But you want to see it maybe a little more consistently with his game. Now, last notes from the national practice. I have the split in half. Wyatt Milam and Ozzy Tropilo were two players I thought did well today. Tropilo is someone that I need to add to my big board. And he did have some plays where he got beat. Like I think there was one against Josiah Stewart where Stewart pretty much just runs around him, which that's kind of what Stewart does in all fairness. But Wyatt Milam, he had a damn good day. I mean, a lot of people I've heard from are saying he was the best prospect on the field today. Well, let me reword that. Actually, I worded that very poorly. He was the most impressive prospect on the field today. And so there's some out there that are saying, like, this is the top interior offensive lineman, or he's the top center looking at all this. So, you know, I thought he did really well. Every time I watched him, he was doing a good job. This here, I believe, was... Yep, he's playing left guard on this play. And you're just going to see him lock down this guy. I think this is Yaya Black. Not sure fully about the name. I like that punch in the middle of this play, too. You see with that right arm, it's pretty nice there. But just sticking in front of him, right? You know, the arm extension, winning against him. I think he's going to be able to use his tools a little bit better on the interior. So that was a really nice rep from him, and he had a lot more of those. And ultimately, you know, what we've heard is that he is the player who impressed the most from today. So, you know, good stuff from him. He's a player I think I have as a second-round prospect right now, and, you know, he might work his way up into early second-round territory by the time this is all said and done. Now, as far as the American practice, I'll be honest, I did not get as many things out of this. I was a little bit distracted as well, and had some phone battery issues. You can see that right there. It was pretty damn low while I was watching all these practices. But the first thing to note was Dion Walker just kind of taking that T'Vondre Sweat route of just obliterating people and just simply overpowering blockers. He took down a coach today in one of the practices, which, you know, you're not really supposed to do. So I'm not going to sit there and think too much of it, because sometimes people like to send a message or, you know, send a tone and they get too aggressive with coaches. So it's not always a good thing. But you saw some reps where he was just obliterating centers or guards. This is one of them. I'll make this full screen so you can see it. I mean, look at him just push this guy back. Like, this guy immediately, because Dion Walker has this, like, he can't do it the whole play, but he has some explosiveness to him as a nose tackle, like ridiculous explosiveness. He just can't keep it up a lot of the time, but it can really set someone off balance here. So, I mean, he's straight off the line. He's got this center to where he's really leaning backwards here, trying to find a way to get leverage, just getting pushed back. I mean, like, Milroe's running right next to them at this point, like, the whole way. And this poor guy's got nothing he can do. Now, Dion Walker doesn't get off the block, in all fairness, which, you know, it probably should have done, and obviously doesn't really have enough of an impact there, because they still just hand off the ball and go next to him. But you see this incredible power, and I think he's ultimately, you know, looking at that, if I consider what happened with T'Vondre Sweat last year, going high, even in spite of the off-the-field stuff, I can't remember what it was, so I'm not going to comment on what it was because I don't want to get it wrong, but he had some sort of issue off-field right before the draft, and he still went at, like, pick 38. So, Dion Walker, can he go high? Yeah, and he is not the same size as T'Vondre Sweat. Like, he is a little bit smaller, when we look at it. Ignore my grade for him, by the way. I have him way too low right now. He came in at 340 at the Senior Bowl, but still, he's just a huge guy, right? He's got a lot of power in his top half, and he really uses it against blockers. So not surprising to see that power. He was a player who made a ton of sense to stand out this week. Just one thing to note on Emory Jones, I think it's possible maybe he played inside while I wasn't looking, but I was trying to watch him for a lot of this practice because I think he could be a deeper option at guard that maybe you develop in this draft, and he's someone I do like for Jacksonville. But I wanted to see how he played inside, and every time I watched him, he's playing right tackle. I don't get it. Like, this is someone everyone talked about as a guy to transition inside, and he's playing tackle, like, pretty much the entire time I'm watching. So it kind of sucks. Like, I want to be able to evaluate him at guard, but didn't really get the opportunity because I didn't see him at guard once during practice. Now, Jaylen Royals, kind of a mixed day. This is not like Devontae Walker sort of Senior Bowl performance, but he ultimately, like, there were some ball security issues earlier on, or maybe in the middle of his practice, where he's kind of juggling the ball or double clutching, or, you know, he had a drop at one point, which, you know, a lot of guys did out there, but he ultimately did finish strong today, had some really nice catches. A lot of people, while saying he is a really good athlete, have kind of questioned how good of an athlete he is. There was some issue with separation on routes. Like, he can get locked down by athletic corners. So that is a little bit of a concern. And it's something I'm probably going to go back and rewatch with him, because if he's not that great athlete that I thought he was, that really changes the projection here. But ultimately, you know, this is one practice, and we got to take that as it is and understand that, you know, maybe that isn't how he plays every day. And as well, you know, this guy did come in at 200 plus pounds. I mean, he is a well-built receiver for the frame he has at like 5'11" and a half. So, I mean, we could take a look at that really quick with Jaylen Royals. He came in at 5'11" and 4/10, 210 pounds. Actually, more than I thought. So, I mean, he's a big guy. And then he's got, you know, good-sized hands, you know, especially for a receiver. I know this usually doesn't look good at 31 inches, but ultimately, like, the only reason why it's not in green is because Jaden Higgins exists here, and he's a huge player. But Jaylen Royals, like, this is good size for a receiver. Like, I mean, he looked pretty big on the field, so that's good stuff. I think he's probably someone who could continue to play outside in the NFL. But it is that question of, you know, is athleticism as good as I thought, or maybe is it a tad lower? It's just sort of a mixed result with him, and he's someone I'll watch again tomorrow at practice and probably Thursday as well. Now, ending with our last player here, and once again, I'm sure there's plenty of people I didn't note here that stood out in one way or another. It's just hard to see everything that's going on at the Senior Bowl. But ultimately, like, I would say of what I watched, the guy who impressed me the most was Maxwell Harrison. Now, as far as Harrison, kind of how I viewed him before this, I know people say he was like 6'1" for the longest time. Like, they said his length was really damn good, and that was not the case. And I never thought it was the case. We take a look here at where he ends up, and he will be higher on my board. Let me just note that really quick. Harrison ends up going from expected at 6'1" to just over 5'11". So this is someone that, you know, you could have that debate about playing in the slot, especially because he does bring his best to run defense. I think he does pretty well there, especially compared to other corners where a lot of these outside guys, they just don't really contribute a whole lot. But Harriston, you know, he is a lanky guy, and he did not meet the 6-foot threshold. So he's probably someone who considers playing inside, but then you look at the length here, right? Small hands, but 31.5-inch arms, that's really good for a corner. 76-inch wingspan, like, this is stuff you can work with. So you like to see that. It has to be factored in because you can't just make your evaluations off height. Like, you have to consider, how long is the guy's arms too, because you look at pass rushers. I don't know where Abdul Carter's going to land, but Abdul Carter is a shorter guy, but he might have really long arms. You look at Dallas Turner. He was someone who had good arm length, but he's like 6'2.5". So you have to consider both those things. And Harriston, I think, is someone who has that length in his arms, but he doesn't meet the 6-foot threshold. So, I say all that, just noting the measurement because it's important to note. But Harriston, ultimately, he just played great during this practice. You saw him play man. You saw him play zone. He was very well disciplined. He was in the right spot. He was able to get off blocks against the run. And I thought that he did a great job of showing off his athleticism, relying on it, and just staying in stride with receivers. Just one of the plays, I don't know if this was the best play of the day for him, but one of many good plays that he had. I mean, you just see him stick with, I think this is Jack Betch. Or Beck. We'll see if I got that right. Probably not. But you see Harriston just able to stick with him through this route. So, yeah. Sticks with him here. Makes the transition. Isn't getting pushed off too far. And then once the ball is thrown, which quarterback probably should have thrown it over this way a little bit more, just considering where the leverage was. But Harriston dives for this and knocks it down. Right? Long arms to work with. Like, this is someone I think is going to be a legit corner in the NFL. He's going to be a good player. So, one of the many plays he did well, but you saw him sticking with receivers all day. You saw him do well in zone. I just thought he had a very impressive day and was definitely among the short list of the most impressive players at practice for day one. So with that said, that's all we've got here today. I am going to work to probably add some of these clips I took onto my computer and probably go through some of my draft rankings, start updating things tonight. That's my plan. Not sure we'll have any other videos out before tomorrow or for tomorrow aside from Senior Bowl coverage. So just keep that in mind. And the Senior Bowl practice video for day 2 will probably be out pretty late tomorrow because we're going to be going to the convention center to talk with players. I think from like 3:30 to 5:30, sometime around then. So I'm going to be back here pretty late. So just keep that in mind and be expecting that. So with that all said, once again, we're going to shout out our channel members here. Premier Series 904, Nightmare Eco F150, Mr. Dolphin, Scrubber Ducky 500, and Brian Foster. Want to say one more time, thank you guys so much for your support. I cannot make it clear enough how much I appreciate being able to get to 1,000 subscribers. This is a milestone that I never knew this channel would make. And it says a lot about the community we have here. It says a lot about Jacksonville fans, and we're gonna keep going, right? So thank you all for watching. Let me know players that you maybe want to hear from at the Senior Bowl. I'll keep it in consideration, especially for tomorrow where we'll probably be able to do more interviews. And yeah, your thoughts on practice for day 1 as well. So thanks for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And finally, go Jags.